and good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee to providing me an opportunity to present my work at this event. The topic of my presentation is on star identities equipped with SQL product involving generalized derivations. Outline of my presentation. Abstract. So in this paper, we characterize generalized derivations and describe the structure of prime rings with involution involving SQL product. Prime ring, a ring R is said to be prime if and only if the zero ideal is a prime ideal in R. Equivalently, we can say that R is prime if for any AB belongs to R, A or B equal to 0 implies either A equal to 0 or B equal to 0. The ring of integers, for example, the ring of integers under usual addition and multiplication is a prime ring because in this ring, 0 ideal is a prime ideal. So Z is a prime ring. Involution means an additive mapping on R, X to X star satisfies these conditions. X Y star equal to Y star X star and the condition is said to be involution. A ring equipped with involution star is called a star ring or ring with involution. Hermitian and skew Hermitian elements. An element X is said to be Hermitian if X star equal to X and is said to be skew Hermitian if X star equal to minus X. The set of all Hermitian elements will be denoted by HR and set of all skew Hermitian elements will be denoted by SR. The involution is called the first kind if the center of the ring R, ZR contained in HR, otherwise it is said to be of the second kind. And in the second case, intersection of SR with the center of ring is not equal to 0. So throughout the discussion, involution means a second kind involution. Let n be a positive integer. A ring R is said to be n-torsion free if for any x belongs to R and nx equal to 0, it always implies x equal to 0. Next definition, characteristic of a ring. So characteristic of a ring means the least positive integer n which satisfies the condition nx equal to 0. If no such positive integer exists, then R is said to be have characteristic 0. Derivation means an additive mapping D from R to R and satisfies the condition D of x y equal to dx into y plus x into d of y for all x y belongs to R. For example, consider the ring of 2 by 2 matrices over the ring of integers and define the mapping dx such that E12 x minus x E12, where E12 denotes the usual matrix unit with 1 in the first row second column entry and 0 elsewhere. So then D is a derivation of R. So this is the example of derivation. An additive mapping T from R to R is called a left centralizer if T of x y equal to T of x into y and is said to be right centralizer if T of T satisfies the condition T of x y equal to x into T of y, and T is said to be centralizer if it is both a left as well as a right centralizer. Next definition, generalized derivation. An additive mapping F from R to R is called a generalized derivation if there exists a derivation D from R to R such that f of x y equal to f of x into y plus x into d of y for all x y belongs to R. So clearly every derivation for D equal to f is always a generalized derivation, but the converse need not be true in general. And also for D equal to 0, suppose if we take here D equal to 0, then f this expression becomes f of x y equal to f of x into y, which is same as a left centralizer. So generalized derivation covers the concept of derivation and left centralizer. And this is the example of a generalized derivation which is not a derivation. So here we take a ring of 2 by 2 upper triangular matrices over the ring of integers and define the mappings f and d from R to R such that fd defined as. So clearly f is a generalized derivation of R, but not a derivation of R. The expression xy minus yx for any xy belongs to R is said to be the Lie product or commutator of R, and it is denoted by the bracket x comma y. And the skew Lie product means the expressions xy minus yx star. Here star means involution of R, and this is denoted by nabla bracket xy. So xy minus yx star means skew Lie product. In 1995, Bell and Dave proved that if R a prime ring admitting a non-zero derivation D such that D of Lie product of x y equal to 0 for all x y belongs to R, then R is commutative. Further, in 2017, Al-Ahmadi et al. Proved the same result in the setting of prime ring with involution, and derivation is replaced by generalized derivation. And they proved that let R be a prime ring with involution of the second kind if R admits a generalized derivation f such that f of Lie product of x and x star equal to 0, then either f is 0 or R is commutative. In 2019, this result was extended by M.A. Idrisi and L. Oktite, and they proved that the same result for generalized derivation, and take the condition f of Lie product of n x star belongs to the center of R. In the previous result, f of x and x star equal to 0. So here they take f of Lie product of n x star belongs to the center of R, then R is commutative. So motivated by the above mentioned results, we prove the following. Let R be a two-torsion-free prime ring with involution star of the second kind if R admits a generalized derivation f such that f of skew Lie product, actually we replace the Lie product by skew Lie product, and here f of skew Lie product of n x star belongs to the center of R, then R is commutative or f is 0. And these are the corollaries of the above theorem. The first corollary is the theorem 2 of a paper published in Miss Gold Mathematical Notes. Let R be a two-torsion-free prime ring with involution star of the second kind if R admits a non-zero left centralizer such that T of skew Lie product of n x star belongs to the center, then R is commutative. Next corollary, let R be a two-torsion-free prime ring with involution star of the second kind if R admits generalized derivations f and g such that f of skew Lie product of x and x star plus minus g of skew Lie product of x and x star belongs to the center, then R is commutative or f equal to minus plus g. If we take here plus sign, then the second conclusion is f equal to minus g. If we take here minus sign, then we get f equal to plus g. Next corollary is a theorem 1.11 in the published in the paper. Let R be a prime ring with involution of the second kind of characteristic not 2 if R admits a derivation d satisfies the condition d of skew Lie product of x and x star plus minus skew Lie product of x and x star belongs to the center, then R is commutative. Theorem 3.2, Let R be a two torsion-free prime ring with involution star of the second kind. If R admits a generalized derivation f such that scalar product of x belongs to the center of ring, then R is commutative or f equal to 0.
Okay, Mohammad Salahuddin, time is not that much. Please come to the conclusion.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So this is my last result. Let R be two torsion-free prime ring with involution star of the second kind. If R admits generalized derivations f and g such that satisfies the condition, then either R is commutative or both f, g are 0. And this is the example for theorems 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3. These results are not true for semi-prime rings. And these are references which we have used. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mohammad Salahuddin. So any questions from the audience side? No question? Professor Brijesh?
No, sir, no question.
Okay, thank you, Salahuddin.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, Rinchen, are you able to do right now or not?
Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Sir, I will join by this laptop, sir. Another laptop.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Now.
So you can start with your presentation, Rinchen.
Okay, sir.
Please finish up in 7 to 8 minutes.
Okay, sir. Sir, okay. Sir, is my screen visible?
Not yet.
Is it now, sir?
Yes, now visible.
Yeah. Okay. Good morning, everyone. The title of my paper is Arithmetic Properties for Partition. Hello? Hello?
Yes, go ahead, Rinchen. Go ahead.
Okay, sir. I have already published this in the scope of supervisor. For any three for AR, S n with RS a given set. For example, in for all integer beta and n, we have this congruences modulo 4. Now comes to the introduction part. In introduction part, we will discuss first about some background of partition function, and second, we will present the definition of some restricted partition function, which help us in understanding our result more clearly. The theory of partition of number is an interesting branch of number theory. The concept of partition was first given by Euler in the 18th century. After Euler, though the theory of partition had been studied by a large number of mathematicians, but the joint work of Ramanujan with Professor G.H. Hardy made a revolutionary change in the field of partition theory of numbers. Now comes to the definition of a partition. A partition of a positive integer n is a non-increasing sequence of positive integers called parts, where the sum of all the parts is equals to n. For example, I have presented here the partitions of a positive integer 3. That is 3, 2 plus 1 and 1 plus 1 plus 1. It is denoted by p of n with p0 is equals to 1. Thus, we can say that p of 3 is equals to 3. The generating function of P of n is given by Euler and is given by equation number 3.1, where for any complex number A, n mod q is less than 1, AQ infinity has to satisfy this equation number 3.2. Now comes to the definition of L regular partition. Throughout the paper, we define Ft by this equation number 3.3. Ramanujan proved the following three beautiful congruences for the restricted partition function. Taking motivation from Ramanujan congruences on Pn, the arithmetic properties of partition with certain restrictions have received a great deal of attention, like L regular partition of a positive integer, which is defined as the partition of n in which none of its part is divisible by L, where L is any positive integer. It is denoted by Bl of n, and its generating function is given by equation number 3.4. For arithmetic properties of L regular partition, one can refer these three papers. For relatively prime integer R and S, an Rs regular partition is one in which none of the part is divisible by R or S. It is denoted by A, R, S of n, as already discussed in the abstract section. For example, A 2,5 of 13 is equals to 2, since the 2,5 regular partition of 13 into distinct parts are 13 and 9 plus 3 plus 1. The generating function is given by equation number 3.5. Now comes the preliminary section. Here we will present some Q series identities and Ramanujan theta function identities, which we will discuss, which we will be used in proving our results. Recall that Ramanujan general theta function f of AB is defined by equation number 4.1. Important special cases of f of AB are the theta function phi q, psi q, and f of minus q, which are given by equation number 4.2, 4.3, and 4.4 respectively. In terms of Jacobi's triple product, f of AB is defined by equation number 4.5. Now these are the lemmas which we will use in proving our theorems. Now comes to the main part, that is the result section. Now congruences for 2, 5 regular partition into distinct parts. For every non-negative integer n, we have this congruences modulo 2, given by equation number 5.1 and 5.2. The proof of the result is like setting Rs equals to 2,5 in the generating function of AR, S of n, and using some elementary Q operation, we will obtain this equation number 5.3. Now, using the identities which we have described in the preliminary sections, we obtain the equation number 5.4. Extracting the term involving even powers of Q from equation number 5.4, we obtain equation number 5.5. Now again, using the lemma discussed in the preliminary section, we will obtain our result 5.1 and 5.2. This is our second result. Let P greater than 5 be a prime with condition that minus 10 by P is equals to 1, minus 1, where this bracket represents the Legendre symbol and J is between 1 and P minus 1. Then for all gamma greater than equals to 0, we have these four results of congruences modulo 2, given by equation number 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, and 5.10. The proof of this result is like extracting the terms involving odd powers of Q from the above equation number 5.4, we obtain equation number 5.11. And using the lemma discussed in the preliminary section, we will obtain equation number 5.2. Again, using the same lemmas and the identities, we will get our result. These are the proofs. Now the third theorem is if W1 belongs to the set 13,37 and W3 is in the set 41,89, then for all non-negative integer beta, we have these four results of congruences modulo 4. We can easily prove these results by using the lemmas and the identities we have discussed in the preliminary sections. Again, the next result is let P greater than 7 be a prime with condition that minus 14 by P is equals to minus 1 and 1 is less than J is less than equals to P minus 1. Then for all non-negative integer gamma, we have these four results of congruences modulo 2. The proof of this result is same as above. Now the next result is let W1 belongs to 3,5 and W2 belongs to 13, 25 and 37, and for any non-negative integer alpha, we have these five results of congruences modulo 2 given by equation number 5.27, 5.28, 5.29, 5.30 and 5.31. These are my references, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Renchan. That was a nice presentation.
Thank you, sir.
So, any questions from the audience side? Professor Brijesh?
So do your results generalize some result or these are new results?
Yes, sir. I have generalized some results, sir.
Results of whom?
Yes, sir.
Of which result you have generalized?
The third result, sir, F1, F2, in terms of F1, generalization of F1 is given, na, sir. I have generalized that part, sir. Some results are particular, but some are generalized, sir.
Okay. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Renchan, I just want to ask one question. You explained this Jacobi triple product. Can you explain that? What is that?
Hello, sir.
In your presentation, I saw Jacobi triple product.
Yes, sir. Jacobi's triple product identities, Ramanujan, sir.
Can you explain that?
Actually, sir, that partner, sir. Sir, explanation in terms of like, sir, I'm not. Wait, sir. Hello.
Yes. How you define that? What does that mean?
Jacobi's triple product identity, sir.
Yes.
Actually, sir, I have. What is that?
Okay,
Actually,
then thank you. Thank you, Renchan.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Next, Riazur is there. Riazur Rahman.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Sir, can I present it through my tablet because I
Not-
can't unmute my mic through.
Not a problem.
Okay, sir.
Please share your slide. And you have 7 to 8 minutes for that.
Okay, sir. Is it visible, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So a very good morning to all of you, respected professors and my dear research
So
students.
you may on your video.
Yes, sir.
You can on your video.
Okay, sir. But electricity is not there, so it will be a dark, sir.
No problem, Riazur.
Okay, sir. You can't use your camera while presenting, sir. That's the problem I'm facing.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sir. Okay, my screen is visible, sir.
Yes.
So the title of the paper is Congruence Modulo 13, 17, and 19 for Ramanujan's general partition functions. So now this is my outlines. So abstract of the paper is given like this. Recently, Kumar, etc. and all proved some congruences modulo 11 for the same Ramanujan general partition function. In this paper, we proved some infinite families of congruence modulo 13, 17, and 19 for the Ramanujan general partition function. So these are my contents. Introduction. As my paper is based on partition, so let me introduce with partition to you. A partition of a positive integer n is a non-increasing sequence of positive integer called parts whose sums equal n. For example, if n is 5, then it has 5 partitions. Namely, these are 4, 3 plus 1, 2 plus 2, and 2 plus 1, 1, and 1 plus 1. The number of partition of non-negative integer is denoted by Pn, where with P0 is equal to 1. Thus, we can see that the number of partition of 4 is 5. The generating function for the partition function is given by 3.1, where for any complex number a and q less than equal to 1, modulus of q less than equal to 1 is given by equation 3.2. For any positive integer, we will throughout this paper, we will use the notation ek is equal to qk. Now, Ramanujan's in 14 and 13 references have found three beautiful congruence given by the equation number 3.3, 3.4, and 3.5. Now, a part in partition of n has t color if there are t copies of each part available and all of them are viewed as distinct objects. For example, if each part in partition of 3 has two colors, say red and green, then the number of two color partition of 3 is 10, and namely are the following. Thus, the number of two color partition is 3. The generating function for t color partition of any positive integer n is connected to the general partition function, and Ramanujan in reference 5 has introduced the general partition given by equation 3.6. So this is my working equation. I'll prove some congruences in this. Now, Ramanujan further claim that if lambda is a positive integer and w bar is a prime of the form 6 lambda minus 1, then it is given by equation 3.7. After Ramanujan, the partition function Ptn has attracted attention of many mathematicians to investigate its congruence properties. One may see these references for details. Recently, as I've told, Kumar, etc. and all proved some congruences 11 modulo for Ptn. Now, in this paper, we proved some infinite families of congruences modulo 13, 15, and 17 for the same partition function. To prove our result, we will employ some Q-series identities that has been listed below. So these are my Ramanujan general theta function as given by equation 4.1, and we will make use of E1 given by equation 4.2 for proving my results. So these, as we know that from reference 4, in that paper, Byrne has proved that E1 to the power cube is given by equation 4.3, and from this we have reduced some identities given by equation 4.4, 4.5, and 4.6. And finally, we will use the formula for we will use the equation 4.7 to prove our congruences. It can be easily derived through deduced through binomial using binomial theorems. So these are my results. First result is given by this. The theorem we have P as given by this equation. So this is my theorem, and proof is given by this. By taking t is equal to 13 sigma minus plus 1 in 3.6, we'll obtain equation 4.8. Then using 4.7 in above equation, we'll obtain 4.9. Thereafter, employing the 4.2 in 4.9, we'll get 4.10. This is the next result that I have proved, which is similar to that, but instead of P13 sigma plus 1, here it's plus 3. So the proof of this is given by this. Setting t is equal to 13 sigma plus 3 in 3.6, we obtain equation 4.11. Then using 4.7 in 4.11, we'll obtain 4.112. So again, we'll get this. Employing 4.4 in 4.12, we'll obtain 4.1, 4.13. Extending the terms involving q to the power 39 plus s, for s is equal to 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12. On both sides of 4.13, we arrived at the desired results. Some more few results that I have proved, but I have not provided the proofs here, are the following. So these are my other theorems which I have proved but not provided proofs here, as my paper has not been published yet. So these are my references. Okay, thank you, sir. I hope I have completed within the time. Hello?
Yes, thank you, Riazur. Yes, you have completed on time.
Okay, sir.
That was a nice presentation.
Thank you, sir. As we are in Arunachal Pradesh, we are facing network issue also, and there is electricity issues also, sir. So
Okay.
the problem is that's why we are unable to present it on laptop also, sir. Sorry for that inconvenience, sir.
No problem. Vijay, sir.
So do you know what is the formula for Pn, asymptotic
Yes, sir.
formula?
Asymptotic, that is 1 by E1, sir.
Means the given by Ramanujan sum.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain that?
Yes, sir. We have got a sequence, sir. 1 by 1 minus q to the power n, sir. So we will get a series like, sir, p is equal to pn is equal to 1 plus q square to q square, and the coefficient of this will be equal to the partition of the n, sir. Number of partition of n, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Riyazul.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Sorry for the inconvenience again, sir. But thank you, sir, for giving me the opportunity to present a paper in your workshop, sir. Oh, sorry, conference, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay. Next one is Murugan is here? Murugan? I think he's not here. Anil, please check Murugan is here or not. Okay, Flora.
Yes, sir. I'm present, sir.
Okay. So next is Flora Zeba. The title of its paper is Perfect Numbers and its Relationship with Fibonacci Prime from the Christ University. Yes, Flora, you can start.
Yes, sir. Should I turn on my video, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll start sharing my screen, sir. Is my screen visible, sir?
Yes.
Shall I start, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. So today we're gonna see about perfect numbers and its relationship with Fibonacci primes. So this is my overlay of my presentation. First, I'm going to introduce few special numbers and talk what a number theory is, and then we're going to talk about perfect numbers and that relationship between Fibonacci primes. And I'm going to show you the papers that I used to refer to prepare this PPT. So what is number theory? Number theory is actually a branch of pure mathematics that talks about integers and integer valued function, and it's also known as the queen of mathematics. And Fermat, he is a French mathematician, and he's called as the father of modern number theory. Now let's see few numbers, special numbers. So Fibonacci, he is a Italian mathematician. He developed a sequence called Fibonacci sequence. Fibonacci sequence is just it's a sequence that is actually defined by a linear recurrence equation, Fn equals Fn minus 1 plus Fn minus 2, where F1 and F2 are fixed to 1 and F0 is 0. So that is the Fibonacci sequence. Now Fibonacci sequence is found in many parts in nature. For example, a pine cone, fruitlets of pineapple, a curling wave, and more in many more places. So Fibonacci prime is a Fibonacci number that is a prime number. So for example, it will be 2, 3, 5, and so on. Those are the Fibonacci prime numbers. So in the 17th century, a French scholar named Mara Mersenne, he introduced the number called Mersenne's prime. So Mersenne's prime is actually a prime number that satisfies this equation, 2 power Pn minus 1, where Pn is a prime number. For example, we can see that 3 is a Mersenne's prime and 7 is a Mersenne's prime. And up to 2018, there are only 51 Mersenne's prime found. And a triangular number is actually a figurative number that can be represented in form of a triangular grid of points. For example, we can see that the first row of the triangular number is 1. It represents only one element. The second row represents 2 elements, and it goes on. So a triangular number T1 would be 1, triangular number T2 would be 3, and it goes on. So now we come to our perfect number. So perfect number is a number whose proper divisors add up to gives the number itself. For example, 6 and 28, if you see that its proper divisors 1, 2 and 3 will add up to give the number itself. So they are perfect numbers. Now Euclid defined a connection between perfect numbers and Mersenn's prime. He said that if M is a Mersenn's prime, the mth triangular number is a perfect number. For example, if we can see that 3 is a Mersenn's prime and the third triangular number is 6, so we can see that 6 is a perfect number. And similarly for 7, so 7 is a Mersenn's prime. The 7th triangular number is 28, and that is a perfect number. Since there are only 51 Mersenn's prime known, there are only 51 perfect numbers known, and we do not know if there's any existence of odd perfect numbers. So an abundant number is a number whose proper divisors add up to give a number that is greater than the number itself. Now, an abundant number can become a perfect number if we take just a subset of its proper divisors. So, for example, 36, we take this proper subset D1, and we can see that the proper subset of its proper divisors would give us 36, the summation of all those elements in that proper subset of proper divisors. Now, there's another abundant number which can be a perfect number. So if you just take away one of its proper divisors, and that divisor is called a reductant. So for example, 12, the reductant is 4. We can see that the summation of the proper divisors except 4 will give the number itself. Similarly for 18. Now, a deficient number is a number whose proper divisors add up to a number that is less than the number itself. For example, we can see in 2 and 4. Now, a deficient perfect number can become a perfect number when we add a proper divisor, D, that is called a deficiency divisor, to the summation of its proper divisors. It gives the number itself. For example, 10, the deficiency divisor is 2. If we add them all up, we get 10 itself. So, and there's something called as an almost perfect number, which is again a deficient number where the deficiency divisor is 1. Now, there's something called as a super perfect number. Super perfect number would be sigma square equals 2 times the summation of all the 2 times the number itself. For example, if we take 16, sigma of 16 would be 31, sigma of 31 would be 32, which would be 2 times the number itself. And there's something called as a k perfect number. K perfect number is really similar to an perfect number, except that the summation of proper divisors equals the number itself in perfect number, but in k perfect number, it would be k times the number itself. For example, if we take 120, we can see that the summation of its proper divisors will give 2 times 120. So this was developed by recorders. So k can be 2, 3, and 4. All these are the integers that have been discovered so far for k perfect numbers. Now, in 2014, 3 scientists, T. Tsai, D. Chen, and Y. Zhang, they developed, because there's a lot of perfect numbers, they developed a generalization for perfect numbers, that is sigma a of n minus n power a will be b times n, where a and b is belongs to natural numbers. So now when our a is 2 and when our b is 3, that number is called a F perfect number. So that is, so sigma 2 of n is basically the summation of the squares of the proper divisor. So when we can, for example, let us take 10, the summation of the squares of the proper divisors would be 1 square plus 2 square plus 5 square. It would give 30. So that is 3 times the number itself. So these numbers are called as F perfect number, and these 3 scientists found them. And they had also given a theorem that relates Fibonacci numbers, primes, and the perfect numbers. So in this equation, that is sigma 2 of n minus n square equals bn, they say that when b is 1 and 2, this equation has no solution. But when b is not equal to 3, they have finitely many solutions. That is, the solutions are bounded. But when b equals 3, that number that satisfies this equation would be a product of 2 Fibonacci primes. Now, they had actually shown the proof, but I want to show the explanation of this thing with help of examples. So now let's take k1 k equals 1, and let's substitute it in that formula that they're given, that is n equals summation of 2 Fibonacci primes of this order, that is f 2k minus 1, f 2k plus 1. So when we substitute k equals 1, we get f1 and f3. So the Fibonacci number that is f1 would be 1, and we see that 1 is neither a prime nor a composite number, so k cannot be equal to 1, and that number will not be considered. So when k equals 2, we substitute it in the formula and we get f3 and f5. We can see that f3 and f5 are 2 and 5, and we can see that both are prime numbers. So 2 times 5 is 10, and we can see that 10 is a f perfect number. And another example is when k equals 3, we can see that when we substitute k equals 3 in that equation, we get f5 and f7, and we can see that f5 and f7 are 5 and 13. So 5 times 13 would be 65, and we can see that that is a f perfect number. So this is how those three scientists had related f perfect numbers with Fibonacci primes. And so this is an generalization of all the perfect numbers that we have spoken about, and these are all the papers that I used for reference. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Flora.
Thank you, sir.
It was really a very nice presentation.
Thank you, sir.
You have explained prime number, perfect prime number, so many type of number.
Yes, sir.
I just want to ask, you made a tree of that numbers. What
Yes,
is the
sir.
significance of that?
Like, how do you mean, sir?
Means tree means like the perfect prime numbers are below to some other numbers.
Yes,
and-
sir. So this is what I'll share my screen again, sir. So when I was reading through the papers, this is what I understood, sir. If it is an abundant number, and if so, basically, these numbers must belong to. 1 second, sir. See, sir. So if when you take abundant number, so basically I would say that this is, if we take abundant number as a group of numbers, these pseudo perfect numbers would be a subgroup of that abundant number, and then these near perfect numbers would be another subgroup of pseudo perfect numbers. So it'll be like under a group, under a group, under a group.
This relates with the subgroup.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes,
So what
Vijay, sir.
techniques you have used, Flora, to prove the theorem?
So no, so these are proved theorems that I wanted to explain with the help of examples, sir. It's something like a review paper kind of stuff, sir, like a review presentation, sir. That theorem that I was speaking about was introduced in 2014 by 3 Chinese mathematicians, sir, in the paper Perfect Primes and Fibonacci number 1.
Means the theorem you have stated is proved
Yes,
by
sir.
you or already proven?
Sir, it is theoretically proved by those 3 scientists, sir. I just explained it with the help of numbers, sir.
So that's not a research paper, no?
No, sir, this is not a research paper, sir. It will come under review kind of paper, sir. Like a review article, it will come under that, sir.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Flora.
Thank you, sir.
Next one is Murugan joined or not? Murugan, are you here? No. So next is Pallavi.
Yes, sir.
The title of our topic is some properties of K-layered number from again Christ University.
Yes, sir.
Over
Thank
to
you,
you, Pallavi.
Oh. Sir, my screen is visible?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Good morning, all. Today, we are going to talk about some properties of K-layered number. This is the flow of my presentation. First abstract, second zoom K-layer numbers, next K-layer number, good K-layer number, next bibliography. In abstract, in this paper, I'm discussing about zoom K-layer number as well as K-layer number and some results related to zoom Kähler number, K-layer numbers and good K-layer numbers, and related to good K-layer numbers, well, characterizing the bonds of layers. Let us
Maybe
know
you
what's
can
the
open
meaning
your video. I'm sorry, you can open your video.
of- just a minute, just a minute. Yes, sir.
Yes.
So is it visible?
Yes.
Yeah. Let us know what is the meaning of zoom Kähler number. Zoom Kähler number means if n is a zoom Kähler number, if all the divisors can be partitioned into two disjoint subsets with sums of the same value. For example, 24 is zoom Kähler numbers. So divisors are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, 24. It can be partitioned into two subsets A1 and A2. Sum of each set is 30. 6, 12, 20, 24, 28, 30, 40 are the first few zoom Kähler numbers. Next, in zoom Kähler paper, Peng and Bhaskara gave one result. The result is, if n is a zoom Kähler number, then sum of the divisors divided by 2 minus n is a sum of distinct proper positive divisors of n. And result 2 is, if n is a zoom Kähler number and p is relatively prime, then n p to the power of l is also a zoom Kähler number. Now let us know what is the meaning of K-layer number. In zoom Kähler means it is a two partitions. In K-layer means it is a K-layered partitions. Definition is, if n is a K-layer, then it can be partitioned, if the divisors can be partitioned into K subsets with the same sum. For example, 120 is a 3-layered. The divisors can be partitioned into 3 subsets with same sum of the each set is 120. So this is my these are my result. I connected result 1 zoom Kähler number paper to theorem 1 K-layer. If n is K-layer, then sum of the divisors divided by K minus n is a sum of distinct proper positive divisors of n. And this is the proof. If n is a K-layer, it can be partitioned into K subsets without loss of generality. So we can show sum of the divisors divided by K minus n. Conversely, here I proved. And result 2 is zoom Kähler paper connected to K-layered paper. This is also my result I got. If n is a K-layered and p is a prime, then n p to the power of l is also a K-layered number. Proof is this. Result 3, in K-layered paper for Joker and Mahanta gave, the number n is K-layered, then we can find K minus 1 disjoint subsets. For example, n is a 4-layered number. We can find 4 minus 1 disjoint subsets, means 3 disjoint subsets we can find. So in zoom Kähler paper, Mahanta, Shaikia, Yakubi proved if n is a zoom Kähler, then 2 to the power of alpha n is also a zoom Kähler. But this is not the generalization for all K-layered number. In K-layered paper, Joker and Mahanta gave one definition. If n is a K-layered number, then exists 2 to the power of alpha n is a K-layered, then we can say it is a good K-layered number. Result 4, let alpha be a positive integer and m be a hard positive integer, then n is equals to 2 to the power of alpha m. It is a good K-layered number. Then K divides sum of the divisors of m. Result 5 is, if m is equals to 2 to the power of alpha n is a 3-layered number, and also we can say it is a good 3-layered number. Result 6 is, if n is odd zoom Kähler number with zoom Kähler partitions means it is a 2-layered partitions, a1 dash and a2 dash. We can define a1 double dash is equals to 2 to the power of alpha d, and d belongs to a1 dash, and a2 double dash is equals to 2 to the power of alpha d, d belongs to a2 dash. Then we can say it is a m good K-layered, a 4-layered number. Sorry. They given some bonds for 3-layered and 4-layered. For 2-layered in zoom Kähler, they given the number. If it is 2-layered number, n greater than or equals to 3, then it is n factorial is 2-layered number. In Joker and Mahanta paper, they gave the number n, if it is greater than or equals to 5, then n factorial is 3 layered, and also if n not equals to 10. Result 8 is, if n greater than or equals to 9, then n factorial is a 4 layered number. And these are my reference. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pallavi.
Yes, sir.
Is it a published paper, Pallavi?
Sir, as till now I got only 2 results. Still, I did not publish it, sir.
Okay. Professor Brijesh.
So again, what techniques are used to prove the results?
Sorry, sir.
Which techniques you have used? Are there any some special techniques or
Sir, I used a Zoom Keller. I referred Zoom Keller number. I connected Zoom Keller number to K layered number, sir.
okay.
So Pallavi, what is the difference between K-layered and good K-layered number?
Sir, good K layered number means we can partition if you take any numbers 120, it can be partitioned into 3 parts. We need to take the K layered numbers. Okay, 120 is a K layered number. 2 to the power of alpha m. M is 120. If they exist, alpha means it is greater than any positive integer. Again, if you substitute, if you get again we can do into 3 partitions, then we can say that is a good K layered.
Okay.
If they exist 2 to the power of alpha m, then we can say it is a good K layered.
Okay, Pallavi, thank you.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Next, I want to call, is Murugan has joined or not? Murugan is there? No? Okay. So we are left with the last presentation, that is Mosraf Sarkar. Is he here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can start your presentation.
Yes, I'll share my screen. Is it visible, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Good morning to all of you. Myself Mosraf Sarkar. I am from Central Institute of South Bihar, Gaya. My teacher presentation article title is Irregular Element in Restricted String Group of Transformation and Linear Operators. These are outlines. There is a basic definition. Semigroup. In only set with a binary associated operation is called a semigroup. Two well-known examples: Tx, a set of all cell map on a non-empty set X, form a semigroup under the composition of maps is called full transformation semigroup. And LV, set of all linear operator on a vector space B over a field, they form a semigroup under the composition of maps is called linear transformation semigroup. These two are the semigroup very well known. The definition of restricted semigroup. There are two restricted semigroups I have considered here. The restricted semigroup of transformations. For a non-empty set Y of X, T bar xy, the restricted semigroup generated by T bar xy and defined by collection of those f such that yf subset of y. Here, the t bar xy is subset group of tx and y is invariant under the S map belongs to t bar xy. Similarly, we can define the restitution group of linear operators. Here, the difference is linear operator which satisfy these conditions. Y and wf subset of w. Background of the restitution group. In 1966, Magritte first introduced the semigroup T bar xy and named as restituted semigroup of transformation. He also studied the semigroup of restituted semigroup of continuous map and restituted semigroup of closed map. In 2006, Nathaniel defined the structure of restituted semigroup of linear operator. His author also characterized the regularity of both the restituted semigroup T bar xy and L bar xy. After that, there are a lot of work done in this semigroup on the several aspects. Some basic definitions. Let transversal and kernel. Let E be an equivalent relation of a non-empty set X, and a subset T of X is called transversal or cross-section of E. If its E class contains exactly one element of T. Kernel of a map. Let F belongs to Tx, and kernel of F is an equivalent relation on X denoted by KF and defined by KF equals to collection of those XY pair such that image of X, image of Y is equal. Next, defect and collapse. Let F belongs to Tx. The defect of F is denoted by Df and defined by Tf equals to cardinality of capital Df, where capital Df equal to X minus Rf, where Rf is the image set of F. And next one is collapse. Let F belongs to Tx. The collapse of F is defined by Cf and defined by Cf equals to cardinality of capital Cf, where capital Cf equal to X minus Tf, for some transversal Tf of the equal relation KF. Note that Cf is independent of the choice of transversal Tf. Semi-balanced. Let F be a self-map on a non-empty set X, then F is said to be semi-balanced if Cf equal to Df. That means collapse and defect are equal of F. The set of all semi-balanced of a semigroup S is denoted by Bs, and a semigroup of self-maps non-empty set X said to be semi-balanced if every element of S is semi-balanced. That is Bs equal to S. To non-result, we have proved 2020 that a map of F belongs to Tx is semi-balanced if and only if X is finite. Next one is F belongs to this Tx, then F is irregular if and only if F is semi-balanced. We give a necessary sufficient condition for two semigroup T bar xy and LV to be semi-balanced. The restituted semigroup T bar xy is semi-balanced if and only if X is finite. Next one is the semigroup LV is semi-balanced if and only if V is finitely dimensional. Regular semigroup. An element X of a semigroup S is called regular if there exists an element Y in S such that X, Y, X equal to X. The set of all regular elements in the semigroup S is denoted by reg S. The regular element regular semigroup is a semigroup in which every element is regular, that is reg S equal to S. So, well-known example, Tx is a regular semigroup, LV is a regular semigroup, irregular semigroup. An element X of a semigroup S with identity is called irregular if there exists an unit element U in S such that X, U, X equal to X. The set of all regular elements in S is denoted by U reg S. The irregular element, a irregular semigroup is semigroup in which every element is irregular, that is U reg equals to S. Unit element is nothing but there exists an element Y in S such that X, Y equals to X, Y, X equal to E. E is the identity of the S. non-real. Tx is immutable if and only if x is finite. Second was LV is immutable if and only V is finite dimensional. We have proved this following simple proposition. If is submonet of Tx, then Urec of M subset of Dn. That is the irreducible collection in M containing irreducible semi-balanced collection of M. The immediate consequence of the proposition 1.1 is that the irreducible submonoid of Tx is semi-balanced. In general, the converse of the above corollary is not true. The next, the following example will satisfy the argument. In the full transformation of the same group Tx, the following are equivalent. Irregular element and semi-balance are equivalent. Notation. We know that for every f belongs to T bar xy, yf subset of y. That is, there exists a restricted map fy denoted by fy y to y such that y fy equals to fy for all y minus t. Similarly, we can define fw for all f belongs to L bar xy, bw. Next, we have next lemma. Let f belongs to T bar xy, then f is immutable if and only f is immutable, then fy is immutable. Next, we have one of my main result, which characterizes the immutable element of T bar xy. Let f belongs to T bar xy, then f is immutable in T bar xy if and only the following three conditions are satisfied. First one is fy is immutable in Ty, and next one is Rfy equals to y intersection Rf, where R alpha is in the set of alpha. And third one is Cf, cardinality of Cf minus Cfy equals to cardinality of Df minus Dfy, where Cf equal to x minus Tf and Cf equals Cfy equals to y minus Tfy. For some transversal Tf and Tfy of kernel F and kernel Fy, especially such that this condition is satisfied. Now we given a ontology proof of the following known result, which first proved by Humi in 2017. It stated a distribution group T bar xy is immutable if and only x is finite and y is singleton set or y is odd set. The remaining part of the presentation will use the following notation. NF for null space, RF for range space, nullity F equals to dimension of null space, and so on. Let we have lemma f belongs to L bar Bw. If f belongs to f is immutable in L bar Bw, then Fy is immutable in Lw. The following result captures the immutable element of L bar Bw. Let f belongs to Bw, that f belongs to irregular. This is irregular if and only following three conditions are satisfied. That is, nullity of Fy equals to co-rank of Fw. Second one is range space of Fw equals to W intersection range space of F. Third one is codimension of W plus Tf equals to codimension of W plus Rf. For some subspace Tf of B such that Tf and W intersection Tf transversal of the kernel F and kernel Fw respectively. Notice that if W equal to V, the condition of the above theorem 2 and 3 are trivially hold. Thus, we have the immediate corollary from the above theorem, which characterizes the immutable element of LV. That is, F belongs to LV, then F is immutable if and only nullity of F equals to co-rank of F. We have another lemma, nullity of F and co-rank of F for all F belongs to LV if and only V is finite dimensional. Using corollary 0.20 and 0.21, we have following result, which is known result. If V is irregular if and only if V is finite dimensional. RFW equals to W intersection RF for all F belongs to L bar VW if and only if V is trivial space, that is zero space or whole space. By using lemmas 0.21 and 0.22, we have simply known proposition which first proved by Chania in 2019. That studies the restriction group L bar VW is irregular if and only if W is trivial space, that is zero or whole space, and V is finite dimensional. Then the references. Yes.
Thank you, Musraf Sarkar,
Yes,
for
I
this
was.
presentation.
Thank you.
Yes, Professor Prajesh.
Sir, so you have written some binary associative operation. Is it correct one? The first line you have written binary associative operation. Is it correct?
Yes, sir. Binary
It
two
should be
conditions.
associative binary operation.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you have some examples also where in infinite dimensional case it doesn't hold.
No, sir. Example here I have mentioned here.
So how you have proved
Yes, sir.
the theorems?
There are some paper which characterize the regular element and regularity of the same group. The same way we prove the irregular element, irregularity of the same group.
So
Regular
you must have some examples, na?
for what, sir?
Examples where the result doesn't hold and the only results are there.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, Musraf.
Thank you.
So we are left with the last call for Murugan, Veena, or Fatima. Is anyone here? Murugan? Okay. So I request Professor Vijesh to end this session.
Okay, so I thank all presenters and all the audience for their patience to listen the presenters. And I also thank Professor Sunil Hans for conducting this session very well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
तुम लोग कुछ बोलना है?
हेलो,
आप बोलिए, फिनिशिंग आप में क्या बोलना? किसको बोलना है?
हेलो।
वॉलंटियर भी ऑन करके चले जाते हैं। मेमोनी नहीं है वॉलंटियर। हाँ, वॉलंटियर कोई और है। मेमोनी तो वो है, टेक्निकल है।
I would like to thank to session chair. We are very grateful to you that apart from having a busy schedule, you agreed to chair this session. Thank you very much, sir, for your kind support and chairing the session. Thank you, everyone.
चलो सर ठीक है,
Thank you so much.
ओके सर बाय।
Okay, bye.
ओके, हो गया, बंद कर, नहीं बंद